Hi, I hope you're all well. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at flags, we are going to look at lights, and we're going to look at phantom prims. So I just wanted to show you a few things that I've created here, and then I'll bring you to another area where we can add a building and do some of these things. So as you can see, I have a flag, and it took quite a long time to create this flag. It is not perfect, but it is probably the best that I'm going to do. But I'll show you how I did it, and we can go from there. It was very difficult, but I don't even want to say fun, but we'll see. So I'm going into my building. I just have to change my perspective a little bit. All right. Oh, keep forgetting that I keep doing that. All right, so I want to go into my building. Doing this blindly here. And just some things I want you to notice. If I go up a little bit, I've added some lights to my lamps. I have a light here, and I have a light in the front. Oh, I see it. Oh, the other way. And I have a light over here. You can see that one as well. So I just added some lights. I'm just going to go up a little bit so you can't see me. I added some glow to my web option. I didn't actually want to expand that, so I'm going to get out of there, but that actually displays the weather channel, if you might remember. And so that's all I wanted to show you here. I just need to change my perspective here. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to bring you to another area. By the way, this pole that I created was a prim that I've stretched. So this was a cylinder prim that I've stretched. This option right here. And then the flag was one that I created. I didn't link those yet, so I can link them. And then I can take a copy and add it to my inventory. I'll just call it flag. All right, so let's go over to a staging area. So if you'll remember, this was the area where I have all the floating fish kind of hanging out in no water. And what I want to be able to do is I'm just going to add a building here and then do some things. I did want to show you that, and unfortunately I can't take the building away. I should have thought about that before I did it. But I was practicing with the flags, and this building has an awning, but the building was one object. So I needed to unlink the building so I could click on the awning, and then I created the a softer effect so that the awning looked like it was blowing in the wind. So fun stuff. But let's see if we can add a building and maybe create a sign and do all that fun stuff. So I have a few buildings. I kind of copied them quickly. Oh, the large treehouse. I'm hoping I can put this in here. I hadn't been able to successfully place things on these rocks, so that may be a limit. Alrighty, well that was a large treehouse nevertheless, but I don't know where the treehouse part is. So, and these aren't things I'm going to keep there anyway. Alright, so I'm just going to edit that and delete that. So it's difficult for me to place a building in this area. So, you know, I've already added this building. This was a building that I got from Marion Island. And like I said, what I had done with it was I had actually unlinked it. So I right-clicked on it, chose to edit, and I had unlinked it. Now, because I've done that, who knows what it's going to take it away. But then I had to click on this part right here. Thankfully, it was its own object. And what I did was I just played around with some of the settings. Now, I have actually flags on my on my island. So what I ended up doing as well was I ended up unlinking another flag that looked like it was working well, kind of look at some of the settings, and to be perfectly honest, they are not bad at all. So if I were to kind of move this window a little bit, you can see that some of these settings are pretty good, although the other flags that I have a gravity, a friction, and a density, and a bounciness. So, you know, I'm sure I can add a bounciness to this one. And honestly, they're a little more intense, so not quite sure what that does, just a point of experimenting with it, but the flags were pretty difficult. So let me just experiment with some of these options. Like I said, adding the building was pretty simple. I mean, if you need to see me add a building, unfortunately, I'm just going to take it away because it's not going to add where I want it to. But if I go to inventory, I don't remember where I had buildings, so I'll do build. So you can see there's a series of buildings here. Here is the garden. I had a garden center that I'd grabbed from the other OAR that I dragged in. Unfortunately, like I said, I don't think I can place things on these rocks, and it's partially buried, so let me just delete that. I don't want to waste time here. Here, I'll just put that building with their store awning. Again, I'm not quite sure where I can place it. All right, well, nevertheless, here we go. Building with awning. All right, so that's enough for that. I do not want to unlink this because I really don't want this here, but I did show you that I unlinked this building and changed the awning. So I wouldn't be able to do it to this awning unless I went through that same scenario. So again, I don't want to unlink this, so I'm not going to go through that. But what I might want to do is I might want to, let's see if I can actually go in here and maybe add some furniture and maybe a lamp. Looks like it's a little high up. I love that I have to jump into the building, so let me jump. Okay, there we go. All right, now I didn't worry so much about where I placed it. Obviously, I'd have to get rid of this. I'd have to do some terraforming and things like that. I could delete those. I'm sure I can delete some of this other stuff as fish flow through. The house is obviously, I think it's probably a phantom house if the fish are coming through it. Let's see. No, it's not. Well, the fish themselves can kind of fit anywhere, so they're in this area as opposed to anything else. But, you know, let's just say this building wasn't on top of all these rocks and I wanted to add some stuff. So I'll just go to some recent stuff that I added. Oh, okay, so let's see. Tropical. All right, so something like this is kind of neat. All right, so there we go, and then I might add a lamp. I threw away a bunch of lamps because I had duplicates, but let me just bring in this lamp. Okay, now this is a little buried, so let me, oh, gotta make sure I grab the right thing. Oh, there we go. Okay, so there's our lamp. So in this particular case, I want to show you what I had done. So when I actually add light to this, I'm just going to close my inventory so it doesn't take up room. What I ended up doing was unlinking the lamp, which happens to be in the middle of my table here, so I will edit that so I can move it. There we go. All right, but I ended up unlinking it because there's so many pieces. Now the downfall with that is there are so many pieces, but it is what it is. I'll just unlink it so that what I had done in this case, I'm going to unlink. And then I'm just going to click someplace else for a moment, and then I'm going to click on this object. And I had actually used a glow feature. So the glow feature was pretty effective in making this look like it was a light. And then I'm not quite sure how successful I'll be, but I had tried to click on these objects again. Now I'm missing the little pieces here. And then I can link those again. Make sure I don't have a fish in there. That'd be pretty funny. I'm not quite sure how successfully I linked it, but you know, that was one way that I could get the light there. So that was pretty interesting to me, that I could just make it glow and make it look like the light was on. Now, if I wanted to, I could also add, looks like I'm still editing here, so I could also add some other objects. So let me add a prim. Oh, here, I'm going to get out of the house because the house wants to do that. So give me a moment, I'll get out of the house. Then Alright, I only have 5 minutes to finish this recording. So what I'm going to do, I tend to go a little long, so I'm going to create a prim. And then I'm going to make it smaller. Oh, that's a rotation, so give me a moment. Alright, so I have this prim that I've already changed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a flexible path. And I'm going to change a variety of things. So I'll change its softness. I'll change its gravity. It's already got drag. And I'll add some wind. I'll add a little less tension. And I might add some settings. Oh, there are some settings here already. So this is pretty interesting that you can do that. And then it's not much, but it's kind of flapping a little bit in the wind. In this case, more drag, maybe a little less gravity. A little more softness. So we have something that might actually be a little bit flappier. In this case too, though, I could actually add kind of a glow. You can see the radius around the glow, so I could change that. So I'm trying to figure out what I would use that for. Let's see. If I were to rotate it, I could probably do that. But, you know, obviously I can change the intensity. I could make the radius much smaller. You can see. And I don't know if you can see it, so let me just make sure. If I go to sun position, I choose like midnight. You can see that it's lighting up the area around it. So pretty interesting that you can do that. I'm sure I could probably, actually, if I made this a little bit smaller, it says stretch, but doesn't mean I can't shrink it. Maybe I should make it a spear and make it flow. Certainly I have the opportunity to create it looks like it's gray. I can add a little texture to it. Oh, I don't want that texture. Oh, what I wanted to show you when I was looking at my flag, though, was the way my flag was flowing. I think this is too thick, actually, because it's not as flowy, so I'd have to look at that. But the way the flag was flowing, I'm just going to turn this off for a moment because I just want to see how thick this is. The way the flag was flowing, I actually had to put my words on sideways. Well, that probably is okay. So I did have to actually put my words on sideways, and I wanted to show you that, but it's a little late. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to run out of tape. So the only other thing I need to show you, it looks like, is Phantom. So under Object, I can do Phantom, and then I should be able to just